Today we'll be checking out podcast episode 3, but first, a short.
Alright, well, behold the Gate of Morkai, your final trials and aspirant of the Red. Beyond this, there's no return save as one worthy to belong to the wolves in body and in soul.
Oh, is this like the recruitment process for the Space Wolves? I haven't heard of this Gate of Morkai before, and I know that each Space Marine chapter has a different process.
Aye, Wolf Priest, what shall I expect of this trial?
Alright, here's what will happen. You listening, laddie?
I'm listening.
Alright, so here's what's gonna happen. You walk through this archway. The squid will scream at you.
What?
If you get a boner, we're killing you.
What?
A what?
Oh, you need your ears cleaned, boyo. What is it you don't understand?
What?
Everything! Am I fighting?
Okay, I mean, I know it's a genre and all, but like, tentacles? Not really into that. Not to shame anybody who is, but I don't know. It's just not for me.
In a kraken?
Nay.
Why are we so deep in the it?
Because
What's with these gates?
by Voldrum is vulva, you're whining like a thrall whelp, lad.
No, seriously, I don't understand.
Do I have to throw you into the fire pit so the demons can consume your soul?
Sorry, what?
Get in there!
Bro just got sacrificed. Thrown straight into the warp.
Hey son, you want to change your
Oh
place?
my god.
What is this?
I can get you
Let's
a cheap
not.
haircut and a cool new financial advisor if you give your salt to the Imperium.
No!
The third is falling. Enjoy your economical instability.
No, keep away! Why am I naked?
You're a strong one, laddie. No flags risen.
No flags risen.
Good thing they didn't use the wolf ticks on you, though. Then you'd be right
Oh
thick,
my
boy.
god. You guys are a little too obsessed with wolves to an unhealthy degree.
Just shove the Canis Helix into my face and throw me out into the wilderness now, please, and thank you.
All father willing.
I need to know, is this actually accurate? Wait, based on an actual piece of lore from the Space Wolf series by William King. Well, there you go. Based on a true story. Whenever Hollywood says that, you know it's real.
Attention, denizens of the Imperial Palace and beyond. This Voxcast publique is designated... Omega Prioris. Continue your operations,
Ultra rapid indeed,
but
brother.
listen at least partly to this very inappropriate announcement. Thought for the day. You have to be 18 standard or older to listen to this. Anything else is unsuitable and heresy.
That is true. We're clear. Oh, we actually have a whole set here? And boy. Also, why is Wild Moody's all the way up there? What is he doing?
This was not the kind of break
Dumpy Grinbo.
Well, Decius is here.
Yes.
That's new.
Hi. Hi. I am Manclesiarch Decius
Man,
the 23rd.
please, York. Love that.
I have been brought onto
right.
this Voxcast to...
Do things. Talk? I don't know.
Well, this record goes by the name Inquisitor, written by illustrious scribe Ian Watson, author of the screen story for Steve Spielman's AI.
It is the oldest non-anthology record found in the library. Its age surpasses even that of records covering the Horus Heresy.
Well, I mean, from the title here, it is the first 40k novel. This is going to be a trip into the past, which I feel like so much of it is not going to be true anymore. It could be potentially kind of funny.
It indeed seems to be even older than the library itself.
This tome was found in several different publications, with its alternative title being Draco by Ian Watson,
Draco.
author of the screen story for Steve Spellman's AI.
It is the first
Oh, that just made me do a double take, because we do have a channel member named Draco as well.
Part of the Inquisition War trilogy by Ian Watson, author of the screen for Stephen's Abominable Intelligence.
It's also been found by me under the names of the Philosopher's Stone and the Sausager's Stone by Ian Watson, author of the Harry Spielberg series.
It is
Oh,
a
man.
book by Ian Watson, author of the screen story for Steph Spielberg's
I have never read this book. I do not know why, but now I have, and my life has forever changed.
This book
For the better?
has awakened things in me.
Oh no, boy.
Terrible things. I yet see them through my empty eye.
Poor boy.
This book was a mistake.
No, no.
Minotaur apps.
I am sorry, boy.
Oh, you see things that aren't there through an eye you no longer have, too?
Wait,
book is
actual lore for Magnus? I mean, it kind of looks like he has both of his eyes, unless if I'm mistaken. But then again, this isn't really... no, wait, that was just an older edition. I was thinking of, like, the giant demon form that we saw, but that might not be canon anymore. Oh, there's so many things to remember.
a cold, wet towel wrapped around the midriff of my mind. It drenches us with its lurid text, the text that is the water dribbling from the frigid towel that is this book, soaking us until one can do naught but become united with one's uncomfort.
Yes, that is literally how the book is written throughout. It is like sour magic.
Yes, magic. Living chocolate amphibians? A ridiculous prospect.
To be wholly transparent, however, I personally kind of enjoyed is perhaps a bit strong, but liked this book. It was wacky, uproarious, and quite the ride.
But you are wrong, King of Nipples! This book proves beyond doubt why the normals have to be eradicated, you see!
We're still on about
Throughout
that.
the reading of this,
Would you just fucking call me? Did you just call me a normie? Be careful who you call or accuse of being a normie. You may face heretical charges and be executed on the spot. Although, granted, like, anime and video games have kind of become so much more mainstream than they used to be. I remember back in the days when the only way you could watch anime, back when I was living in the States, was through, like, fan subs. And if you did, you were kind of just a nerd, a loser that nobody wanted to talk to and didn't have anything better to do with their life. But then when Attack on Titan came out, everybody started raving.
we discovered that this writer has, incidentally, also penned a record filed under the name of Orgasm Machine.
What?
We have not had the distinct pleasure of reading that one, but based on our findings reading Inquisitor, Ian
What?
Watson also writing a book called
What is that
Orgasm Machine. Makes a lot of sense.
My Emperor, please join me in my crusade to kink shame Ian Watson back to the Eye of Terror. Tell us of your opinion.
Numerous times, this record tries to insinuate that I am little more than an raving skeleton upon a golden toilet. Therefore I hit it, and it needs to go.
You've insinuated such things about yourself on numerous occasions, Father.
Nobody riff on me but me.
He's right, you know.
Hey,
That's
yeah,
mighty
fair.
petulant, Father.
Is there anything of value to be gleaned from this foul text, my lord?
A lot of
I believe there to
entertainment.
be some erudite knowledge intermingled with the layers of rancid fluff that thickens this book. It would, however, be hard for anyone to coerce this knowledge on a single read. It is style over substance given form.
In what manner should we go about covering the contents of this record?
There is only one way. We must cover each chapter. One by one.
Oh, here we go.
Because
This is gonna...
Quote, Stanley Kubrick, legendary Hollywood directographist, in conversation with Ian Watson, author of the screen story for Steve Spielman's up-and-coming project, A. So, strangely, I sent you a pre-publication copy of my new book Inquisitor that I have written. Please tell me what you think of it.
Why do you have to speak like that?
Maybe this is my next movie.
Oh.
Who knows yet? Maybe this is my next movie. Maybe this is my next movie. Maybe this is my next movie. Next movie.
Indeed.
Next
Let us begin.
Inquisitor. Pre-prologue.
Man.
This book
Here we
begins
go.
with a pre-prologue, as so many books of legend do. It first needs pointing out that there are many minor differences between the record named Inquisitor and the one named Draco. Draco is the name of the Inquisitor we follow throughout this epic, and I figure the name change was a result of the Inquisition not wanting Jacques Draco and his base love quest associated with the Inquisition as a brand.
It appears as though Draco is a newer version of the same book.
Oh, yes.
But with some changes to certain elements and descriptors.
What
possibly in an
kind of
effort to cover up
changes?
unwanted information, as is the Inquisition's wont.
Morbidly accurate, Ecclesiarch.
Man, Ecclesiarch, please.
Ecclesiarch?
Well, the pre-prologue of Draco does make this clear with a note that reads, and my condolences in beforehand, for it is quite long. My Lord High Inquisitor, I have now examined this particular archive as you requested of me. I can state that the text does truly date from a time around 1200 years before the present day. However, in the absence of a true physical copy of the work, dating a record that exists only as a data file upon our cogitator with any real precision is beyond the abilities of even my most skilled tech priests. As to its content, there is little to tell. I have been unable to acquire any evidence of the existence of an Inquisitor of our order by the name of Jacques Draco. Indeed, my researches have led me to believe that none of the orders have any record of such a personage. However, I have not been permitted access to their most hidden archives, and I cannot therefore offer a definitive answer as to his non-existence.
I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense, even in the Inquisition today. You don't want to reveal your identity willy-nilly, and I would assume that the identity of any Inquisitor isn't exactly public knowledge.
Of his outlandish companions, I have more mixed feelings. The work itself states that the Calidus Temple acknowledges the presence upon its roll of infamy as such named assassin. Yet in all my years, I have never heard of such a request for information producing such an unequivocal result. The secretive leaders of the assassin shrines openly would even acknowledge any such query from those outside their order is, frankly, unbelievable. The Navigator, well, we know of all the scorn with which our brothers in the Navis Nobilite regard outside inquiries.
Navis Nobilite?
As to the Abhuman, the thread is cut. The accursed hive fleet of the Tyrannid put paid to that line too long ago. I cannot believe, however, that even a renegade Inquisitor, if that is what this Draco really was, would tolerate the presence of such a disgusting mutation. Lord, I understand full well that my role is to examine the facts as they are presented, to report upon the technical aspects of this archive alone, but I must confess to you now, I am sorely troubled. I have been serving you in my capacity as Master Librarian for 2 centuries now, but never have you asked me to report upon such a tangled morass of bare half-truths and inferences. If even a fragment of what this memoir purports to reveal is truthful, it implies a conspiracy of the most mind-warping complexity. Yet where is the evidence? Without it, this work can be nothing but a blasphemous heresy, a traitorous farrago of the most evil kind. This work would be better destroyed than be recorded in any form, lest it one day be revealed to cause who knows what damage to the minds of scholars less skeptical than ourselves. I implore you, Lord, let me erase this heresy. May the Golden Throne watch over you. Ah.
Well, that was a lot.
Maybe this is my next movie.
Yeah.
This inquisitorial Ronin was not outheaded after the record was, somehow, discovered by the rest of the Inquisition.
The conclusion of their review of this book is eerily similar to mine.
I have to say, though, Uncle Vernon was a dutiful man. His loyalty to the Imperium was commendable. His son's death to the bearish abhuman was tragic.
Don't remember that, but looking at the epilogue of the pre-prologue, I liked when they had to specify that the squats are all dead simply because a squat appeared in the record as one of Inquisitor Draco's followers. Oh, if you don't happen to know, dear listeners, the squats were a strain of very short and, well, squat abhumans that lived here in the galaxy at some point. Don't quite recall when.
40K's version of dwarves, I think. Unfortunately, I don't think it worked out, so we brought them back much later on with the Leagues of Votan.
They were basically bicurd dwarves from space.
Oh right,
there you
they
go.
died
Dwarves.
to Tyranid invasion. Eaten.
So many corpses.
Yes, that's one way to get rid of them.
Tyranids evolved the ability to be short. Hey.
I have to say, I am surprised the mutant-loathing Inquisition didn't just straight up censor the squat's identity and replace it with, say, that of a tech priest or something.
A tech priest?
I feel like I've seen that done somewhere else, but not in any of these publications. Regardless, more squad formation will be unearthed in the reading.
That might have been a reference to a different piece of lore that was retconned like that, but I wouldn't know.
Let us go!
Inquisitor. Prologue.
The prologue begins with another warning.
Befitting of this book.
Unlike the former, this warning is also plastered onto the original version.
It explains that this record is the Liber Secretorum, or the Book of Secrets of Jock Draco, the Renegade Inquisitor, the individual whom we follow through this record.
So what would a Liber Secretorum be?
By asking that question, you have confirmed it works as intended.
Yeah.
Perhaps each Inquisitor keeps their own horrid little diary.
Either way, the prologue goes on to ponder if this book is, in actuality, a weapon designed to sabotage faith and duty, which, yes, that makes sense.
We have the galaxy-spanning ecclesiarchy on one side, preaching from a holy book written by a very heretical brother, Lorgar. Then, on the other side, you've got a book of very niche fetish pornography, which is being treated by the Inquisition as the most heretical thing known to man.
Oh man, that's great.
Same priorities are in place.
Yep.
We did stop preaching from that book, my lord.
Have you really?
Have you
Actively trying to. We are actively trying to.
My one eye may be blind, but the black pit still sits. It sees shadows, beings past our reality.
Is boy okay?
And the book has enlightened me as to their true nature.
I have changed my mind. This fetish pornography is definitely worse.
Oh no, look at what it's doing to poor
tell
boy.
you to burn things.
A rank amongst the Inquisition's dedicated demon hunting division is also mentioned, known as Hidden Masters. This is very incongruous, especially given that Jack Draco is a member of the Ordo Malleus, which is as fucking subtle as the namesake implies.
And after this, the actual prologue begins.
A good book starts with one prologue. The adventure of a lifetime starts off with at least 3.
It finally introduces Jack Draco, who's writing in first person here. He is, and I quote, a secret Inquisitor of the Ordo Malleus.
Not so secret anymore.
Secret Inquisitor is practically an oxymoron, Ian Watson.
Secret Inquisitor Jock Draco starts hyping up his secret adventure by spoiling the key events in the book.
What?
He says he has gone to both the Eye of Terror far in the galactic north
Really?
and the Emperor's very throne room in secret. Then he briefly
Very
humble brags
secretive.
about having done those things, even while considered an impossibility by the masses.
Humble
One man
brags.
could not possibly have gone on such a journey, yet here he is.
He goes on to claim Inquisitors are seekers of truth, which is true. Except when it's not.
We're Persona
which
4
is
Golden
always.
They may seek the truth, but when they found the truth, they tend to cover up the truth with heresy blankets and then pretend like the truth is the not truth.
That's kind of what Inquisitors are
Truth.
for, pretty much, yeah.
And now, a metaphor for your consideration by Ian Watson. Possession of a secret is no blessing, no hidden jewel. Rather, it is akin to a poisoned toad lurking inside a gem-encrusted box.
Oh, bravo! Just
What?
beautiful.
It just makes me think of the poisonous toads in Bro Trip. I think it was episode 1, but like, what a metaphor. Like, was that supposed to be written in as like a joke? Or were they going for something serious there? I don't know.
You may expect this sort of analogy to be but a one-off. It is not.
Secret Inquisitor Jack Draco then starts telling this story in third person,
Oh
likely
my
for
God.
dramatics. It will become obvious as we continue why that possibly could be.
His reasoning is actually as follows. Though no demon I feel in my bones that it might prove inauspicious to utter my own name overmuch in my own voice, lest I somehow be summoned and bound by hostile human forces. Therefore, I shall become he.
He-Man.
Jacques Draco, will tell the story of Jacques Draco's experiences to this data cube in the hopes that the Master of the Malleus, or of the Inquisition, may authenticate the truth of what I report and determine to take action. In that event, you, whoever you are, wherever you are, wherever, whenever, may be scanning these words as part of a briefing poised on the brink of a deadly mission. I hail you, fellow Inquisitor, Marine Commander, Hidden Master, whomever. You see, this is probably one of the worst things you could listen to before undertaking an assignment as he suggests, mostly because the grammar requires you to read it 2 or 3 times.
Hail, Draco, I am your emperor. Allow me to reiterate what you have just said. Your reason for writing in third person from here on out is, in fact, not because you wrote the contents of the book in before you wrote this disclaimer. It is instead because you are avoiding having your newly disgusted comrades run their way into your love quest dungeon and to bind you down. I completely understand this was the same logic that drove me to not tell my Primarchs about my Webway project.
I hate everything you just said and I will ignore it.
Oh yeah, that's right. We had a joke earlier in DTS where the whole Webway project was to get it on with some Eldar. Now, I'm not a writer, nor do I read that many books anymore, but back when I was a kid, I was kind of a bookworm, and something that I really noticed was that there were a lot of writers who wanted to use extravagant language and complex grammar in order to maybe try to fit an idea they were going for or to seem more sophisticated. But ultimately, I feel like the best language you could use is one that your reader can understand. Because you can see a stark contrast between newer 40k novels and the way they're written and descriptions of events currently going on. Well, I haven't read any one of them, but we have seen small blurbs here and there, and every single passage that we've been shown before was very powerful, and it evoked a strong mental image of what was currently going on. Whereas here, it's kind of like doing somersaults all over me, doing a mix-up, hitting me low, hitting me high. I don't really know how to react. It's just confusing. But I mean, yeah, this was like our first attempt at a novel, so gotta give it some leeway, but it is pretty funny though, just looking back on it and seeing how far 40k novels have come.
Right, so I particularly like the implication that he is invoking the true name clause as though he were a demon, similar to the name he provides as an example, Flygzlzale.
What? Oh, what's up?
Oh my lord!
Fuck off.
Shit, a giant skeleton!
No demons in the throne room, Magnus.
No promises
bad.
are made.
So, Hey, I am unsure why the secret Inquisitor in question, Draco, appears unusually far into the record. Also, his one defining characteristic is to act like a shitty little snake child. Just like a boy.
Eat the
Oh
death
my God.
sir.
Oh,
snap.
damn! Custodians really
Moving
need to
on.
lay off.
Draco begins
bullying
describing
boy.
his companions, of which there are 3. The first is the previously mentioned Squat, who goes by the name of Grim.
Dumpy Grimbo.
The second companion is a navigator named Vitaly Google, who apparently
Google?
looks very old, but is only about 30. A bit par for the course there, I suppose. The last one is a Calidus assassin, of all things, who, plays the role of Draco's mistress.
This is the
Oh
first of
my.
many signs that this book is going to fuckland and never returning.
And her name is Melindy.
Quite a gathering of
Melindy.
misfits.
Yes, I'd imagine from the outset that this looks to be a fun adventure filled with peril and entertainment and clowns.
Halt, brother. If we were to quip about this book every time we find something objectionable, we would remain in this chamber until next week. The boy will starve.
Worry no. I can just drink my own blood.
Please don't do that, boy.
No.
I would like to add that he is not speaking in hype.
Oh, that no wasn't in Rogel's usual tone. That was just straight up like, what? No, don't do that.
Probably, I can't determine that we would actually be in here for an entire week.
I guess we should just keep it to a minimum then.
Yeah, well, that's the end of the 20th and final prologue anyhow, so, yeah, moving on to the first chapter.
Inquisitor, Chapter 1.
Thank you. The chapter opens up on the planet of Stalinvast, in a hive city known as Vasilaryov, amidst a vast and ever-encroaching junglescape.
The Hive City keeps the jungle from getting any closer to the walls by shooting it with a number of gun turrets. This being a very
Nice.
effective use of time, energy, and resources, rather than
Agreed.
using a series of defoliants instead.
Perhaps they have more ammo than they do Weed Killer. Isn't the Hive City in question a manufactorum as well?
Yes, they also use the jungle as target practice for their weapons testing. It then goes on to describe a group of robotic warriors who are also being constructed and tested.
This is strange. All robots in the 42nd millennium are considered archaeotech. It is considered impossible to construct new ones, unless this world happens to have found an incredibly rare STC and never shed the rest of the Imperium.
What an absolute...
Okay, that makes a whole lot more sense. Because I was wondering, yeah, we don't see robots. It's all just kind of like augmented humans who have been grafted into machines, or like machine spirits controlling devices that have existed long, long ago. Or even dreadnoughts, they're not even robots. They're just space marines who have been entombed within them pretty much for eternity.
fucking shame, if that is the case.
Oh, after that comes an absolutely stellar description of the High City's towers, being large Korra-like towers with rose red, scarlet, purple, pink colors.
What?
It then goes on to describe a series of suburban structures which are likened to a fungal dinner plate.
Not
What
very
does that
appropriate
even
colors
mean?
for a hive city.
It's all the colors of the warp.
Hogwarts truly is a disgusting locale.
There are also space marine vehicles being produced here, as well as space marines going through harrowing jungle exercises. And it then swiftly moves on to describe what appears to be a gene stealer infestation that is rapidly
Of
eradicating
course.
everything in the hive city.
That is as rapid a tonal shift
Right.
as I've
And
ever heard.
there's finally some interactions between the 4 primary figures that we shall follow for the remainder of the record.
Secret Inquisitor Draco has the hots for the Calidus assassin.
Everyone
Hey.
has the hugs.
Okay, let me actually see the Calidus assassin. I think I have a pretty good mental image of what this is. Yup. I mean, who doesn't have the hots for the Calidus assassin?
For the Calidus assassin.
Don't really think they become an item, though. I think Draco and the
Unfortunate for
girl end up
Draco.
hating each other due to psychic chauvinism.
I think you might be skipping ahead somewhat.
Draco talks for a bit about the assassin, Melindy, about where she's from, namely, the planet Calidus.
I must remind everyone that Kalatus is not a fucking planet.
Indeed, my lord, it is a temple.
Yes, and how she's dressed in a very thin toga and wearing pointed Eldar-like shoes.
Heretical?
Clown shoes, no, of course.
The party is intentionally disguised as a rogue trader and his entourage, so it makes sense.
Clown shoes never make sense in any context, and I will not have you debate this. Anyway...
You would be verbally murdered.
Anyway... Draco is on the planet to oversee a not-secret Inquisitor, one Hawk Obispal, as well as the quelling of a Gene-Stealer uprising. Apparently nobody bothered to tell him that Gene-Stealers are not Koa's demons, as he seems to think they are.
In his defense, I am fairly certain that most people were unaware that Gene-Stealers were Tyranids, until recently.
It's fair, since the Gene-Stealers came long before the Tyranids arrived in the galaxy. The Tyranids' morbid answer to a vanguard.
Oh boy!
Wait, is that true? Did they introduce Gene Stealers before Tyranids? I thought the most likely scenario would have been the other way around. Or maybe they had tried to introduce an idea at first, and then they grouped it up into the Tyranids afterwards? Or that was just the plan all along? I don't know.
Boy, here he comes!
Boy, close your ears.
There is then an overly long description of Melindy getting naked, taking polymorph, coating herself in skin from a spray can, and leaping into some ductworks. While this happened, the lads are openly staring at her supple form as she crams herself into a ventilation shaft.
What the
Polyjuice potion is a hell of a drug, kids.
The purpose of this action is to continue to oversee the battle between the Planetary Defense Force and the Gene-Stealer incursion.
Yeah, totally necessary.
In the scene prior to this, Jock utilizes some sort of Jokero technology.
Fucking techno-monkey tech.
There are these little flying drones that are almost invisible to the naked eye, which he uses to investigate the battle as it unfolds.
As you know, using an undetectable means of subterfuge and investigation is the lesser of the two options, when your other option is to send out a large, pleather-bound woman who has to crawl through ductwork and kill people to remain undetected.
That sounds like the best option.
The aliens, or they'll steal their genes.
Wizards don't wear jeans, shut up, boy!
And that covers Chapter 1.
Inquisitor, Chapter 2.
In Chapter 2, we take a break from the horny escapades of Jack Draco to behold things from Hawk Obispal's perspective. It is
the other Inquisitor, yeah.
I am pretty sure he quotes an ancient bad text by the name of my cap or something. And if any of you out there are familiar, you will know why this sucks, and will understand why corporate cleanups of the Inquisition are justified.
Yeah, after this, Obispal and his troops proceed to cull the Gene-Stealers. This scene continues on for a bit, not going anywhere in particular, until we cut again back to
Draco's hotel room. Oh my.
Draco appears to be musing on the warp for some reason. What? He's also doubting his, hardness. Quite literally, he wonders if he's truly hard enough to handle tasks like the one now before him.
The way this man doubts his capability to do his job is really telling of the Inquisition's hiring practices. I mean, it would be if he weren't somehow super competent regardless.
Then we get a fun description of Grim the Squat's home life and how his strain of humanity lives. This proceeds to be sharply contrasted by the next scene in which Melindy transforms into a Gene-Stealer but not via polymorphin, and how she then proceeds through the ductworks to get closer to Obispal's position. And then we shoot back to the hotel again, where Grimm's preparing to head out and assist Melindy, who is now a Gene-Stealer,
After this, there is a bothersome discrepancy regarding the assassin highlighted. She is an initiate, and yet she is actively utilizing advanced Jokero tech. That is to say, extremely rare and complicated alien technology, just here, in the hands of a self-professed initiate.
Father, could it be that she is just
lying to us?
Shut your noise, or you cockatoo.
Melindy finally reaches Obispal and saves him from a Gene-Stealer that was sneaking up behind him. She then deftly climbs back into the ducts where she belongs.
Meanwhile, though,
she's for the
in
ducks.
Another location, the squad known as Grimbo is riding on a power trike.
What is that?
Specifically so that he may rapidly collect Melindy and return to the hotel
The squad
room.
is riding on a
All the
motorcycle?
while,
Heck yeah,
Draco
dude.
looks on using his alien spy technology, and the writer takes no time in admitting that Draco wants to have sexual relations
Oh,
with
of
a callous
course.
assassin while she
Hey.
is disguised as a gene stealer.
What?
I wish.
Well, disguised as a gene stealer? But this guy is fetishes, man. This guy is super into cosplay. That taboo stuff, you know. Jeez.
Death for myself.
Should we judge him for what he likes?
Boy. Yes.
Hey, I always like to say, don't yuck anyone else's yums, but this one, I don't know. Maybe we've gone a little bit too far. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how this develops. As long as he's not hurting anybody, then just let him be, I guess.
You were this close to the window, boy, I swear.
Finish the chapter, please.
No, we're finished. That's basically chapter 2.
How
Inquisitor,
eventful.
Chapter 3.
Yes. Grimm continues his trek through the streets and side passages of the Hive City on his power trike and notices several things. Bodies standing upright, killed in these massive street-choking crowds of people, all of them bashing into each other, trying to evacuate. Watson continues describing scenes like this for at least 2 pages. I shall not.
Good. There is enough room here for all of us.
We
He
have a
collects
laugh track.
Melindy and takes her back to the hotel on his power trike. In the hotel, everyone ogles her new form. For some
Nice.
reason, Dark Draco then proceeds to have an internal monologue on
Oh, here we go again.
how he really wants some of that gene stealer pussy. That is a statement I will not repeat and already regret having said.
No! Swiftly!
There's not much more to this chapter. They talk on how polymorphin works to an extent. They talk about Melindy requires a lot of food to transform back due to the calories required to transform in the first place.
Draco
Oh
orders
my
a
god, I'm
sumptuous
lightheaded,
feast for
bro.
everyone, while Grimm appears to be less than enthused. He muses that there are millions dead. And here I'm... And that although the gene stealers are losing this fight, that fact is but sugar on the porridge of death. This is the best book.
These assholes then have the gall to point out that I have no way of experiencing pleasure at all. Which, while true, is very rude.
Aren't they eating fried chicken while talking to each other?
I wish for fried ostrich. My family can barely afford grilled carp's cakes.
These wizards are truly living a life of unrivaled opulence. Well, unrivaled as compared to an average hiver anyway. The amount of nuts, sickles, and galleons these guys are slinging around is ridiculous. It's like they're eating a succulent leg of bird in front of an audience of paupers.
Please stop. Very hungry.
I shall get you a large, non-corpse sandwich when we are done, boy. Provided you behave yourself and cover your ears when appropriate.
I recall
Thank
this
you.
being the end of chapter 3.
Yes, you are correct, my lord.
Inquisitor.
Lord
Chapter
Adornable always
4.
looking out for his peeps.
Ooh, chapter 4 starts off with Hawk Obispal, oh no, being
Okay.
hailed as a hero for quelling the incursion.
Nice.
Annihilating a gene stealer cult is apparently easy enough a feat that it can be done in a day or two.
And then fanfare.
Not
a
true,
glorious
probably,
celebration
but
is
yeah.
held wherein people are dressed up with lizard heads because I don't know. That's just a Stalinvest cultural thing, I guess.
I mean, hey, everybody wants to be a part of the Lizardmen because the Lizardmen are the best faction in Warhammer Fantasy. It makes sense. I can't blame them.
The But in the meantime, Draco broods in his hotel room, claiming that the conflict is not yet resolved. His psychic abilities are telling him that there is further amiss with Stalinvas.
As any Inquisitor will tell
There's
you, there is
more
rarely
gene
any reason
stealers.
to assume that Danival is truly vanquished. Obispal therefore strikes one as a proper jackass, concluding his investigation without making sure all is truly well.
Father.
Lorgar.
Shut the fuck up, YouTube gremlins.
YouTube
As he
gremlins.
sits in his hotel room, Draco proceeds to pull out a leather container made from the flesh of a mutant.
Just like my book.
Nasty.
Then he retrieves from it the Emperor's Tarot.
For the
The what?
uninitiated, the Emperor's Tarot is a deck of psychically attuned crystal wafers that psychers may use in conjunction with the shattered parts of my great psyche to predict future events. It's not exactly accurate all the time, but it gets close, and that is what matters.
My other dad, Zinch, is a lot better at that.
We need to stop
yeah.
inviting co-asp boys onto this Voxcast.
Yeah. Anyway, he uses the Terror to divine some information with regards to his mission and Stalinvast as a whole, and finds that his prediction is interfered with by a man who looks like Eldar Harlequin.
Oh?
He also divines on one of the cards as an image of Mehelindi, which I assume gives him a raging hard-on.
Yes,
Boy,
probably.
Stop quoting him. It is forbidden.
Hey boy, perhaps you should become a custodian. You are still young enough to be torn apart and reconstructed by the alchemists.
I will risk a window to have your bulbous frame thrown out of here.
Oh.
Wait, how are you even holding that shotgun?
I will make an attempt to scurry this along.
Right.
So, after looking at his Manpura card,
Gotta protect
Draco
boy.
then muses on the assassin, which is then immediately interrupted by Melindy herself reappearing, no longer in the
Nice.
duct, where she honestly still belongs. They talk for a short time about the mission at hand, as well as the mysterious Harlequin man. She then talks to him about...
Oh my, here we go, here we go.
Yeah, you take this one.
An infamous assassin by the name of Mother Gullet who used her polymorphine to swallow a planetary governor's infant son.
Huh?
What bearing this has on the story is beyond me, but it sure
Why?
is interesting.
I have no words.
Yeah, one moment.
I don't know, boy. I don't know. What is going on here? Is this Bloodborne? We just have this for the sake of having it? I guess that's a clear sign for stuff like, you know, when dark fantasy doesn't really know how to be true dark fantasy. And it just has all this edgy stuff for the sake of having it, rather than having some sort of story purpose or some sort of foreshadowing to future events. At least out of the dark fantasy manga that I've read that aren't very good, usually like to do this. Whenever something happens to a character or is spoken about, it must lead into something else. That or it must affect the characters in some way, shape, or form. Or thirdly, it adds to the world building. Maybe the world building is what they were going for here, but like, it was kind of out of pocket.
Boy, she apparently ate the child in order to use it as leverage against the planetary governor who was being unruly.
It's obviously written as a lesson to all unruly children out there that if you act the renegade, an assassin will come to your house and devour you.
Custodians just can't
Remember that
stop.
well, boy. The next time you ask ridiculous questions might be your last.
Silence! Your continued harassment of the boy will yield you the same fate as that tech priest you are so fond of throwing out the window.
Bold of you
Oh, yeah,
to
that
assume
guy.
you could grab a hold of my unctuous form in the first place.
It's always
Are
oiled
we
off.
done with this
Not
chapter?
too
quite
slippery to
yet,
grab.
my master. Jock goes on an inner monologue, talking about his time as a young man on a distant planet, his home planet, where he first learned to be an Inquisitor in, Inquisitor kindergarten or something. He
Yeah.
professes that he was a child
That's totally what
genius,
happens.
and that he quickly excelled in his studies, and with that
Not to humble brag, but I was kind of a scientist myself back in the day. Man, sure, you can describe yourself, but every single time you do, it just seems... what's the English word? Pretentious? Arrogant? I don't know. It just kind of makes you look like a douche.
That information fresh in our brain, that is the end of chapter 4.
Child genius, yes.
Inquisitor, chapter 5.
Chapter 5. In this chapter, the team departs from the hive city of Basilariov to another nearby hive city known as Kefalov, where Draco seems to think there is a sizable Coas presence.
He detected it after meddling with the Emperor's turret. And, oh boy, while in transit from one hive to the other, Draco monologues internally once more.
Here we go!
He's now reminiscing about a close call he had as a youngling, being stuck on a black ship bound for Terra. In case you were
Not
unaware,
the younglings.
the black ships are part of a fleet intended to collect and transport psychers from all across the galaxy, shipping them to Terra.
We learned about them earlier,
Draco
yeah.
has been picked up by one of these ships and was to be sacrificed to this here skeleton.
Only I am allowed to call me that.
I'm a rebel, what can I say? It is through this vignette that we learned he was romantically interested in a young psycho girl around his age.
Of course he was.
And that by being spared from his fate to be sacrificed, he was unable to be with her. He uses this as a flimsy excuse as to why he sexually repressed this record, taking its every chance to talk about every person's desire for the sex. Because Ian Watson is a free spirit, not bound by what makes a book good in a conventional sense, only focusing on what he himself wants to write about. And isn't there something quite liberating in that kind of mindset?
No! Not when you're recording an Inquisitor's investigation into a potential Coas incursion, one of the biggest threats known to man! This is not relevant information!
Do not listen to him, Ian Watson, or any other would-be scribe out there. Follow your heart, not a formula.
Yeah. What is this? I can't believe this was actually a thing, and this is the first ever 40k novel. What in the world, man? This was how we introduced our series, eh? I think in many ways, whenever it comes down to making something, creating something for yourself, there's obviously gonna be a small part of you that rubs off into that work, or maybe all of you put into that piece of work. Which is why videos on the same subject from different channels can be vastly different, because the person behind them has a different perspective on things. However, I think when you're making a book for something else, like say the Warhammer 40k universe, something that requires a lot of respect for previously set up work, or well, maybe there wasn't any previously set up work and this was just like freestyling, which might be the case here. But still, like, you gotta maybe tone it down a little bit and try to focus on what this is attempting to achieve, which is to expand the lore of the universe. If we wanted to see this fanfic, we would probably go on a different website and read it. Like, I don't think this was really the purpose of why people would pick up this book. Or I could be wrong. It's like, you have to understand the audience that you're going for and what they're expecting from you. So maybe this is what everybody was expecting? I don't know. Those were different times. My assumption is no.
We require no more sewer goblins writing about their arcane sexual afflictions!
Yes, we do!
I will learn to write.
What have you done, Magnus?
Inquisitor, each person will have his day in the sun.
Shut up, boy.
Oh god, boy's gonna become Coas corrupted. Poor kid, man. He's learned too much.
Boy, no one who can read would want to read that, and I can read, and I can tell you that
You don't know how to
no one
read.
would want to read that. So there.
Well, this is quickly escalating out of hand, so listen, please. Draco and company arrive in the second hive city and begin to make their way to its underbelly, as that is where the ruinous energies are coming from. While investigating, they come across a number of ruinous tentacles intertwined with the streets of the Underhive. They go ahead and start cutting into them with various weapons. The record utilizes flowery language and purple prose to describe how they go about this, almost to the point that it's completely unnecessary. No, not even to the point. It's completely unnecessary. They are certain that this mass of tentacles is the source of the energy.
Nevertheless, Draco and the gang now meet with the clown man himself, Xero Carnelian. For the
Who's
first time being thoroughly introduced to him as the reason why these psychic tentacles, the origins of the psychic energies, the so-called Hydra, is on the planet. Draco then starts shooting with his plasma gun and makes a fucking awful statement that goes, "Blessed are the ignorant, unless they are Inquisitors," which, while being a true statement, is just so strangely put when referring to Coats.
What? Bro, you gotta work on your one-liners, man. If I was on the other end, like fighting Draco here, I would just be so confused. Or maybe that's his tactic. Maybe he wants to kind of like psych you out with a line that nobody would expect. Could Draco potentially be Galaxy Brain? You never know. And maybe all this inner monologue about his desires, let's say, could just be a way to throw off anybody trying to read his mind.
I believe this is the site of another discrepancy, as my book had no mention of a combat spell being used. If anything, it's likely they moved the tentacles rather than cutting them in my copy. That, and apparently he and his compatriots used a sort of catalyst to channel their psychic energy. This catalyst being about the size of a twig?
Yes, and then the chapter ends with the assassin chasing after the Harlequin man. What a cliffhanger.
Why does everyone keep saying that?
Inquisitor.
How many more chapters is this book? God.
Who knows? Maybe this is my next movie.
Yeah, okay, this chapter has the assassin going through, a literal...
Okay, wait. If we keep on repeating this, please don't tell me that was like an actual line said between two people. Because that would be horrendous and incredibly funny.
Assault on the mind of the grisly carnal variety by a clown man with a psychic tentacle spawn. That might sound mildly amusing, but no, it's just in poor taste, so...
Boy!
Yeah, spot on.
Very poignant, poor child.
Moving forward.
Oh my goodness. Everything is in here. Everything. These weren't the tags that I was warned about before picking up this book. Oh, thank goodness I didn't. But holy bejesus, man. This is the kind of plot you'd expect from a doujin or something. And trust me, I would know.
Ian Watson, why do you do this?
The chapter then goes on to be even worse by having the assassin say that she wants to perform exemplary suicide for having had her honor besmirched, and then, after some frankly weird attempts at consoling her, Draco goes on an internal tangent about how he's lonely and sexually repressed, and that he wants to fulfill his love quest. Ian Watson, sewer goblin extraordinaire.
Okay, rub the garbage in all you want. But you're forgetting to mention that Draco, Melindy, and Grimm returned to the hotel room to find it broken into. Inside, the navigator, Vitaly Google, lies tied up with a leather bag over his head face. He reveals to the gang that some mysterious assailants had broken into the hotel room, tied up and stolen all of Draco's Jokero Tech spy gear, including all of the spy flies.
Oh no!
This has given the Harlequin man an upper hand, for he can now see Draco wherever he goes. Ooh.
It also apparently needed specifying that Google had shit himself whilst lying tied up in wait for rescue, and then Grimble the squad released him, cleaned him up, and then gave him a massage.
Thanks, Grimble.
That squat sure is tender.
Alright,
it's kind of an
that
MVP.
Is the end of chapter.
Inquisitor, Chapter 7.
We're still not done. Please
Allow
let
me
it
to
be
summarize
over.
the small amount of actual progression we had in the last chapters very quickly. The party encountered the Harlequin man, Xero Carnelian, who used ways to get information out of the assassin Melindy.
Yeah.
The Harlequin man
That's one way
goes
of
on
putting
to
it.
explain that the chaotic presence in the Underhive is a warp beast called a Hydra. He then chases off the party, and they are forced to seek the planetary governor's astropath.
Yes, in Chapter 7, we are given a very descriptive view of the planetary governor's penthouse. The planetary governor is apparently a mutant, Which would be a shocking twist if it weren't for the scantily clad girls with eyes twice the size of normal human eyes having the sex with him in the other room as Draco enters.
This is the literary equivalent of seasoning a lemon with a lime in an effort to make it more sour. You just can't really get more sour than what you started with.
After this,
I honestly shouldn't be surprised at anything anymore. Every single scene is just straight out of some person's doujin. Like, look, man, as a connoisseur of the genre, it's not even hot anymore. Like, at this point, I would just drop it, because, like, bruh. This is so dumb. But now I'm just like morbidly curious to see how far we go. Like, where does it end? Does it ever end?
They simply have a talk with the governor, which leads them to gaining access to an astropath. This brings us to Chapter 8.
Inquisitor, Chapter 8.
So the planetary governor leads Draco and company to a secluded part of his palace where he introduces them to the astropath, one Mama Pagine, who has a large quantity of small free creatures with her. I believe she refers to them as, well, cats.
Oh my god, she's a crazy cat lady.
Draco dismisses the governor and speaks with the astropath. He informs her that they require her psychic abilities to contact the Imperial Ravagers Space Marine chapter in order to perform an exterminatus on the planet.
It should be noted that outside of this record, there are no other instances of this chapter being mentioned. Even within our own records of Space Marine chapters, this group is somewhat of a mystery.
Probably White Scar successors considering their ravaging name.
After the discussion, Draco takes the old woman aboard their ship and begins to depart. On the ship, called the Tormentum Malorum, there is an interestingly bleak portrayal of you, my most throne-bound master, as a mummified corpse, standing in something akin to a miniature temple dedicated to yourself.
In my version, there is a very imposing bas-relief image of me standing triumphantly over fucking Horus. Not entirely sure if this newer version of the record is trying to suck up to me, but it's nice to not be referred to as a corpse.
Draco then, uncharacteristically for an Inquisitor, changes his mind on the exterminatus. After consulting his remaining drones and learning that the horrid clown cosplayer, Carnelian, has whisked the Hydra away from the Underhive. The evil presence thus removed, the planet is no longer a suitable target for exterminatus, and the order is cancelled. Somehow.
So where's the Hydra now?
They then enter warp drive and depart for a lead on Carnelian and the Hydra.
In transit, the party talks with each other for a while, bantering on squats and their life cycles, and how they can live to be almost 1,000 years old, and that the older they become, the stronger they become psychically.
Interesting if true.
Then, in another extreme tonal whiplash, Mama Pagine reveals to the party that she had sent the exterminatus order anyway because she had suffered unreasonably at the hands of the governor and his family.
Oh,
okay.
Whoopsie!
A planetary genocide level oopsie.
Yep. And to put icing on this mass murder cake, this astropath is initially extremely pleased that she killed an entire planet and all potential robot warrior STCs that might have existed on it. But then Grim,
almost forgot about that part.
him, astutely reminds her that all her cats were down there.
No, not the cats!
And then she cries a bit.
No!
She's not a good pet owner.
Yeah, she's a horrible one.
Boy. That is no way to treat a wizard's pet.
And with that cataclysmic event out of the way, we move on to Chapter 9.
I see what you did there.
Inquisitor, Chapter 9.
Halfway there.
How many more chapters?
Let's keep a stiff upper lip, my friend.
We're halfway. Dude, this straight up feels like a parody, which is kind of funny because I'm technically watching a parody of Warhammer 40k, but like, this novel in and of itself is already a parody. It's like when the first Scary Movie was based off of Scream, which was kind of a parody of horror movies already. Like, Jesus, man. The level of writing here is... It's peak. In which direction it's peaking, though, it remains to be determined, but it is certainly peaking.
Friends.
No. This book makes me limp and feeble.
Draco's ship has since dropped out of the warp
go lie down,
and arrived at the location they were heading
it's making
to.
Me lightheaded.
Space Hulk, or a collection of ruined ship remnants hurled together, floating through the depths of space.
Isn't it an awful idea to traverse a space Hulk without proper forces?
Usually it's very dangerous,
Yes, it is usually the job of Terminators, who have armor necessary for such a dangerous task.
Space
the
Hulk
Inquisitor
Deathwing,
simply intends to enter with some flimsy spacesuits because he is... bad.
No, Draco isn't bad, he's good. The best. Whilst approaching the Hulk, they talk amongst themselves about Draco's past inquisitorial work, in which he would slay demons and then have the visages tattooed onto him.
What
Wow.
a badass.
That sounds like an excellent role model for the children, tattooing the likenesses of demons on your body.
Right?
Boy, do not listen. This is actually a poor example for young minds such as yours.
Thank you, Ruggledore.
This Hulk is the supposed location of Draco's lead, and they go through a brief period of preparing to penetrate the Hulk's still active foreskin in order to reach its
Still active
clogged
foreskin.
interior.
Keep that two-way minimum. The writing is enough, as it is.
They make their way inside and are caught in a trap.
Okay, look, to Wamoody's credit, gosh, that's so hard to say. That one was actually pretty clever, as opposed to what we've been given from this novel.
By unseen forces using gun robots?
Which are referred to as gun servitors in my version.
Yes.
I see.
They fight their way through most of the service.
It just makes me think of the robots that we fight in Fallout New Vegas. That's my current mental image, but obviously I know it's non-canon.
Before being apprehended and overwhelmed. They are then brought into a chamber where a few figures are standing, one of which is the clown freak himself, Xero Cornelian.
In addition to him, there is also Hark Obispal, the allegedly incompetent Inquisitor, and another figure from Draco's past, one Ball Ferenze. Ball's the leader of these men, who are apparently a secret order of Inquisitors unknown to the Inquisition at large, one known as the Ordo Hydra.
As this is revealed, the chapter ends.
What is their purpose then?
Chapter 10.
Chapter 10 is one of the greatest chapters, at least as far as being descriptive is concerned.
It is nice for a change of pace, having a bit of light description instead of an incessant lusting after gene stealer asses.
Hear, my master. In any case, the chapter continues where they left off in 9, and the prime members of the Ordo Hydra begin to explain their goal to Draco, who they trust immediately. They tell Draco that their plan is to utilize the Hydra to unite the Imperium, as the Hydra is a powerful psychic being capable of just such a feat.
What?
From there, they intend to use the combined might of the newly unified Imperial psyche to completely obliterate the warp using your mind, Lord, as a beacon.
An interesting plan. I can only see one minute issue. It's that this small gaggle of Inquisitors with no oversight are intending on unleashing a warp monster onto the Imperium as a whole, including me, to create a human hive mind all linked by and under the thrall of a great material beast.
That doesn't really seem like a good idea at all.
Just a tiny switch detail that things could potentially, if gone down the worst possible route, maybe go wrong. What? That is so dumb. Any kind of scrutiny of this idea just does not seem right. It does not work. But you know, whatever. It's not like people make the best of decisions here in the 40k universe, even till now, like present day lore. We still got Tech Priest doing some research that's a little finicky, that may or may not empower chaos unintentionally.
Accurate.
I'm surprised you think so. Having a human hive mind sounds like one of your greatest wishes.
I am complaining about the involvement of a warp monster, not the concept of a hive mind.
Ah, so just replace the giant immaterial squid with the big angry warp skeleton, full stop, and it'll be fine!
I know you are dunking on me, but you are right.
So after they finish, Cornelian explains that this Hydra's abilities had already been tested on Stalinvast, and thus they had a starting ground from which they could base their plans on.
Draco then interjects, informing the Harlequin man of one fatal issue. Stalinvast has been wiped out by the astropath Mama Pergine. This information seems to stall Cornelian for a moment, who seems to undergo a number of emotional flashes while he processes the information. Before he draws a last pistol and blasts Mama Pergine, seemingly in despair that an entire planet was annihilated for no good reason.
I am
Fair
now
enough.
rooting for these Hydra weirdos. They killed that evil old woman who destroyed an entire planet.
And cats!
Jinx.
And that was the end of chapter 10. A short one, but reasonably alright.
Inquisitor, Chapter 11.
Following the execution of the vindictive old lady, Chapter 11 brings in a more relaxed setting. As in, they've moved to a dining room?
What?
On a space Hulk?
The concept of constructing a dining hall aboard a dilapidated congregation of ship's parts is weird.
Weird is a light way of putting it, my lord.
Carnelian briefly explains his reasoning for killing Pergine, and
This novel, man, like, when I'm like, you know, I'm just gonna not expect anything from it, like, anything is possible, it just keeps on going further and further. I just really need to detach myself from the story and any lore that I may know. Because this is a completely different universe. Like, this is not 40k. This is something else, man.
and then goes on to extend an invitation to join the Ordo Hydra, so
Cool.
that Draco might
Yeah,
assist
totally.
rather than hinder the Ordo's plans.
Again,
How about no?
having no real reason to trust Draco, since he has been functioning as a secret Inquisitor, incidentally working against their wishes this whole time.
What better way to stop an investigation than to bring the investigator in on the grift?
What better way to disband a horrible cult than to have their leaders bring an opponent into said cult as a high-ranking member just because he seems nice?
Touché.
True.
This trust in Draco is further illustrated by them giving him a small sealed container with a chunk of the Hydra in it. Their intent being that Draco will go out into the Imperium and spread the Hydra. Draco takes this box and leaves with his party in tow for the ship. Aboard the Tormentor Malorum, they begin to wonder what they should do. Grim being of the opinion that they should simply flee to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and hide amongst the uncharted stars.
Fair enough.
Google shares in this idea. Draco and Merlindi are on the fence, however, and they go to their quarters to think on the matter. Draco seems to be lost in thought when
Oh god,
suddenly
here we go.
Merlindi enters his room.
Here we go.
Yes.
Here we go.
They talk to each other about their concerns and insecurities. Then they begin to have sex.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Hold up. That's way different to what's in my
Draco
book.
goes on to describe Mehelinda's various tattoos, having now seen her supple naked form.
Whoa! Stop! That's wrong.
There's
What?
even a tattoo of a spider upon her unshaven groin,
What?
which Draco begins to.
What?
There's a hairy spider tattoo, which lends further credence to Ian Watson being a sex pervert. Evidently, it was so good that Draco is exhausted afterwards. His long-standing love quest comes to an end.
They're done now, boy.
I could still see the images in my hollow eye.
No.
Poor boy.
Hairy spider tattoo engulfed him.
Why does this book curse us so?
Their frustrations and insecurities allayed for the moment, the two then decide to not flee, but to take on the Ordo Hydra. They figure that Carnelian specifically had showed the assassin the abilities of the Hydra in such a horrid way, specifically to show them how total a tyranny was being planned by the Ordo Hydra. Carnelian must thus be a double agent out to manipulate Draco and his gang to fight against it. Melindy then goes ahead, uses some polymorphine, and consumes a portion of the Hydra they were given so as to gain immunity to it. Then they prepare to depart for the Eye of Terror. This ends chapter 11.
So they just go straight into the Eye of Terror.
Chapter 12.
Picking from where we
That
left
easily.
off with chapter 11, chapter 12 has us mid-transit to the Eye of Terror.
Just as a reminder, do not go to the Eye of Terror. That is
Unless
a
if you're an
bad idea.
Ultramarine.
They then enter the Eye of Terror in order to find the source of the Hydra so that they might learn of a way to vanquish it. While on the way, they see a large coetic warship, which, according to the author, looks like a crab. While traveling through the initial layer of the eye, they settle down and
Flying
have a nice
crab.
dinner.
That's a weird thing I've noticed. Almost every meal they eat is of the highest quality, and they eat them at the most bizarre times. Like tacos on Tuesday.
Oh no, not the
pretty much
taco
it.
wars again. Just
Chapter
eat it every
12
day.
is
That's what I say.
Inconsequential.
Inquisitor, Chapter 13.
Lucky
The
number
Tormentum
13.
alone begins its approach into the Eye of Terror in search for a specific planet. Which planet specifically?
And how do we know where to go?
I'm not sure. I may have glazed over that information. Sure wasn't the planet of sorcerers at the very least. But they are indeed searching for one planet in particular amongst the countless consumed by the Eye. In any case, they begin their approach to one of the planets, a dark green ensorcelled world, which
For
is
those
covered
quick-witted in the audience, this means we are about to descend into the Principality of Gross.
And they land in the foothills outside of a city, which they have great trouble visualizing due to the intense green fog.
I understand the need for urgency, but that really just sounds like an absolutely terrible idea. Let's just land in the fog of war on a planet that has been overtaken by chaotic energies, with no supporting force, no idea what we'll be facing, and only a funny squat to defend ourselves.
Look, Manclesi Arcdesius. The plan here is to surprise the opponent. They will never see this coming because obviously it is a horrible move to make.
Tactical genius at its finest.
There could be trolls in those foothills, or weird bald men drinking unicorns.
Not the bald man.
As they land, they take some time to muzzle their void suits somewhat to make them blend in with the local populace, as well as have Mehelindia shapeshift into a gene stealer.
An act which pleases Jacques to no end.
Obviously.
Anyway, they depart closer to the city so that they might find some answers as to what the Hydra could be. While traveling, they cross paths with another group, but these beings are cursed with the taint of Coas, as Ian describes gleefully.
Boy.
Oh boy, I am now going to read this entire segment where the record proceeds to explain how these horrid creatures look, for no reason. Here we go! A bull of a man, clad in plate mail, led a dozen capering monstrosities out from behind a stalagmite-like tower of rock.
So that was what the Minotaur abs that boy was describing earlier was referring to.
Formidable horns curled from the sides of the leader's head, jutting forward, streaked with dried gore. His armor was wrought in the contours of bones. Metallic bones were bent into hoops around his thighs. Bones melded to bones made runic designs. Layering alien skulls capped his knees. Giant toe and finger bones encased his boots and gauntlets. An obscene codpiece of artificial bone bulged, encrusted with bloodstones suggestive of ulcers. He also wore a fine satin cape that cut a dash in the breeze, and a golden necklace with an erotic amulet.
What is it erotic?
Senses, the bullman radiated an eerie, brutal sensuality. His gear seemed to say that even bones could copulate, that even metal could debauch itself, though not in any soft...
What is this, Ray? I mean, like, obviously, we've seen all the scenarios that this writer has created, and it usually pertains to that. But, like, just describing this chaos being, just the language being used here, like, holy hell, dude. For one thing, I can't even picture what this is supposed to be, and the other thing is, I'm getting extremely confused by all of these innuendos. I don't even know if you can call it an innuendo anymore. Maybe it's just straight up eroticism. But why? There is no purpose to any of this. Just to be horny, I guess?
Style. Behind the leader trotted an upright tortoise of a man whose squamous head poked out of a barrel-like shell spangled with iridescent stars and crescents as if he was a walking galaxy or a mad magician. Silk ribbons fluttered like streams of burning gas.
Hey, where's the eroticism?
Did he ever crawl out of his shell onto some couch at night, tender-bodied, squashy, all of his pleasure nerves exposed to the ministrations of some large, wet tongue.
I just want to stop recording and I just want to leave and I want to go and touch some grass. And this is coming from an introvert who rarely ever does that. Like, this man's writing makes me want to become a normie. Well, either that or I can just like dig a hole for myself and bury myself in there. Cause like, what? Why am I listening to all of this? Why is this a thing that actually exists and is out there in the universe right now for people to potentially purchase and read? Or, well, I mean, it's probably not easy to get a copy anymore considering how long ago this was probably published, but like, Jesus. I think this just confirms it, that like, this is the kind of writing you expect from fanfic websites. I don't remember the name exactly of like some of the more popular ones, but I would imagine that this is how most people want to write their personal fanfics.
Another warrior wore a brass waistcoat and leggings glued with some gold braid as if furry caterpillars crawled upon his armor. In place of his left arm, he sported a sheath of tentacles on his head, an exuberantly ringleted periwig. Yet another, who was visibly hermaphroditic, in plus crystal armor, thrust forth a great lobster claw, studded with medallions. One thin, tall, small-breasted figure, braced with a clanking baroque exoskeleton, bore the head of a fly, upon which perched a cocked plumed hat. A brass-bound ovipositor jutted from her loins. Her neighbor was a striding, slavering two-legged goat in rut with a starched organdy ruff fanning around his neck, lace ruffled at his elbows, and a velvet cloak. Only one massive man appeared to be true human. He wore a nightmare parody of noble space marine armor, engraved with 100 demon faces, though disdaining a helmet. Great flangled pipes soared sidelong from behind his head, as if copying the bullman's horns in reverse. That head was of statuesque marble nobility, the hair bleached white and permed into waves. At the tip of his aquiline nose, he wore an emerald ring that suggested a drip of mucus. One cheek was tattooed with sword and sheath poised like lingam and yoni. Alongside this traitor marine there danced a mutant woman who was at once beautiful and hideous. Her body clad in a chain-mailed leotard trimmed with
beautiful and hideous at the same time. What does that mean? Is she kind of like morphing in between two different forms? I don't know anybody who I would describe this way, both beautiful and hideous. Like, what does that even look like?
rosettes and puffs of gauze, was blanched and petite, her hair blonde and voluptuous. Yet her jade green eyes were swollen ovals, set askew in an otherwise sensual face. Her feet were ostrich claws, ornamented with topaz rings. Her hands were chitinous, painted pincers, a razor-edged tail lashed behind her plump buttocks. How like a demonette of Korath she seemed. Google groaned at the sight of her and took an involuntary step forward. Grim gritted his teeth.
Okay, so, I mean, like I said, I don't know what half of these words mean. Honestly, my brain is going to overdrive just trying to decipher what this guy is saying. I'm just gonna assume this is meant to be a description of a demonette of Slanesh.
And, yeah, that's it! I do not need to read anymore, you get it!
Hey, got.
Actually, wait, what was there? What was there left? Okay, never mind. It's just describing them going into battle positions or whatever.
I do not need to read anymore, you get it!
Hey, got him. When I said gross, you were probably thinking Nurgle. Nope, it was Slanesh the whole time.
Yeah.
Absolutely disgusting!
It comes as no surprise that we get a painfully accurate depiction of the blight of Koas upon the human form. Do you know, in addition to all the boobular nipple rings, exactly why we got this drawn-out explanation in the first place. When all of these creatures are dismissed as irrelevant barely a chapter after the fact is a question everyone already knows the answer
In an
to.
effort to obfuscate his true purpose on the planet, Jock banters with the Coas Townsfolk about things for a while. And
Like, what
taking
kind of
no
things?
time to explain to them that he is having sexual relations with Mehelindy, who might I add, is...
I meet a person for the first time, so yeah, I'm banging that hot girl over there. Like, bro, I don't even know you. Why are you telling me this?
Still, the sky stats a genius sticky.
Oh, wait! You have forgotten the best part about her transformation!
Oh,
Did you not wish to
no.
talk about the fuck pouch that she grew to simulate a vaginal
What?
opening as a part of her disguise to these filthy Coas folk?
Who knows, Ian? Maybe this is my next movie.
A normal wrote this. And yet I find myself ostracized for wanting to call them.
The servants of He Who Shall Not Be Named are wily and disgusting. Truly, Ian Watson understands the subject matter better than we could ever hope to.
I don't ever want to understand Coas.
On that, boy, we agree. I mean, shut it!
Suffice.
We gotta get through the video. Okay, bro. I don't know what was worse. There was this game review that I had watched from Mandalore about a game called Anonymous Agony, and that was probably one of the toughest videos I had to get through. This one might take the cake. Although I think ranking the both of them, which one is more cringe to me, is probably an impossible task. And it might require me to go and rewatch that. So I'll just say both of them I want to forget. And I'll put them in the furthest reaches of my mind so that we'll never have to talk about it ever again. But yeah, it's time to focus up. Finish the video. We only got 24 minutes left. We can survive. Let's do this, bros.
To say, the Coas warriors are only slightly duped by Draco's ploy, and combat ensues. Lovingly rendered combat, I might add, to be entirely fair. It is not bad.
At least he goes to as much detail in describing their wretched bodies being torn asunder as he does in describing the wretched bodies in the first place.
Yes. After dispatching
least
the
there's that.
band of Coas people, they move closer towards the city on the horizon when they hear a very distant noise, which is explained further in the next chapter.
Inquisitor, Chapter 14.
Alright, so we begin Chapter 14 as Draco and his cohorts enter a city.
Horned phallic towers, wrinkled, ribbed, blistered with window pustules, cancerous breast domes swelled, fondled by scaly finger buttresses.
Is that actually how it was described?
Bridges linked
I
these
believe
buildings,
it.
sliding back and
I believe it.
forth. Scrotum pods swayed. Orifice entries pulsed open and shut. Some buildings were incongruous with each other. Headless, limbless torsos laying side by side, joined abominably. An architectonic orgy.
Ian Watson must be a master at writing one-handed at this point. I will give him that.
This is, of course, one of the other great wizarding schools. I couldn't tell
Are we sure this Ian guy isn't some sort of, like, chaos cultist of Slanesh? Like, this man's gotta be in deep. It's like, if it was a glacier, he'd be at the very bottom, all the way near the ocean floor. Bro has gone deep. When you go that deep, I don't know if there's ever any coming back from that.
Tell you which, but all you need to know is that Hogwarts is sanctioned, and this is not.
Hogwarts a bust, I guess.
Bust indeed.
See, man.
Draco and friends can hear a noise coming from the city. The noise, as it is now described, seems to be emanating from a large, vile figure upon a palanquin being pulled by chaos monstrosities.
Ah, that must be Hagar the Horrible, the bear man who tore Uncle Vernon's head from his body.
Around said figure is an entourage of warriors clad in traitor's armor. They are briefly described before... Bull. The obese woman upon the palanquin is a noble lady of sorts that is shouting for her concert. Yeah, shouting for him. Bull. He was the bull of a man described earlier.
Ah, okay.
The one with the bones, the bulging bones. As she screams, her voice is so cacophonous that it rings across the boob hills and is audible from impossible distances. Jock and the party proceed to set up an ambush to eliminate her protectors. Then they do that, with relative ease I might add, something that really shouldn't be doable on a Coas planet with naught but bolt guns and a psychic weapon.
They're just that good! All the adepts of Slanesh are just that bad.
Very bad. Her escorts thus disposed of, Jack begins to torture the Fiend for information as to what the Hydra is, and whether gene stealers are involved. He gets a bit of information from the thing, before she is eliminated from a long distance by... none other than Xero Carnelian?
Bruh, how did this guy show up here?
Who appears to have sniped and killed this monstrosity with only a las pistol.
A las
This
pistol?
statement is bothersome. A
What?
las pistol does not have a significant enough charge to be
Right?
fired at long range.
Bro, I was playing the last pistol in Darktide, and it is not doing that. It does not have that much oomph or range. But, you know, go off, I guess. Maybe he got some sort of special sniper skill or something. Bro has the tech.
Range and be expected to instantly kill a malformed chaos worshipper.
Actually, I didn't pause that my first time through. Yeah, what?
Do not dwell on this. There are far worse things in this record to be dwelling upon.
He's just that good! Haven't you realized this?
Right. Of course. That ends Chapter 14.
Inquisitor, Chapter 15.
We're almost done with this, I'm glad to say.
Please, Dr. Piobi,
I need to take an aspirin.
Please.
About 50 to be precise.
Yeah, same, actually. My head is ringing fiercely, and that's a vicious feat considering my superhuman physique.
Oh, you all shall drink from the manclesical fountain of aspirin after this is finished, but there is not much left to this tome. Carnelian has finally confronted Draco and his party, and he chastises him for betraying the Ordo Hydra.
It is as though the people within this book forget the limitations and abilities of various beings, ideas, and concepts seemingly at will, almost as if they are only paid any attention when they serve the narrative.
But my man, Emperor, this is an account of someone's adventures, not a work of fiction.
Oh, right. Well, forget what I said. Jacques Draco is just a massive weirdo.
Yes. Yes, he is, my master.
It's putting it very lightly.
Carnelian then orders his two compatriots who appear to be armed with heavy bolters to begin to take down Draco and his team. Naturally, Draco and company escaped pretty much unharmed. They then depart and return into Malorum seemingly with no plans and no idea how to tackle their newfound problem.
You'd think that a good place to start would be to get past the giant dog that they encountered earlier. It's obviously hiding something crucial to the story.
Sir, I think you may be reading a different story.
Shut it, boy. You have no regard for foreshadowing and obviously have been slacking off and reading our book.
Hold the book upside down, sir.
Oh no,
I knew that. There's a picture in here that's upside down, and I wanted a better look.
Good excuse.
Huh. It isn't. Shield Captain, what is that book you are reading?
Is the dog like Cerberus or something?
I have seen this book before. This is a fictional account of a wizard from ancient Terran times.
This book was intended for small children during this time. and yet he thought it was an account of a rogue Inquisitor seeking to undo an Imperium-wide
Oh no,
conspiracy.
Rogotor's gonna rub it in.
That is extremely funny.
Oh, you'll never financially recover from that one, bro.
Well, yes, it's
Oh,
a fictional
no.
story meant to entertain babies. Clearly, it did its job.
I hate you! This is all wrong!
Case is a lie, truth is a lie, as Jacques Draco would put it.
You don't understand! I loved these people! I
cars.
loved Ronaldo. He was a lovable goof who was never afraid to speak his mind. And now he doesn't exist!
Oh no, it's happening again.
It's okay, sir. He still exists in your brain.
It's not the same!
Man, I feel bad for him now. Poor guy.
Wow, he took that hard.
It's just like the time when we were reading him The Giving Tree. I think he's taking it a bit harder because he's the one reading it this time.
But hey, fucking nerd, keep going. We need to finish this up with or without him.
Right you are, my master. So, we left off on...
I mean, no wonder why when we were describing the more erogenous scenes, he was like, wait, what? That wasn't in the book. I love the foreshadowing.
That's it. Alright, so chapter 16 is here.
Inquisitor.
Is it the last one?
16.
Please.
Right, thank you. This chapter seems to meander quite a bit. It starts off with the crew aboard the Tormentum Malorum lamenting their current position in the state of affairs in the Imperium. Jock is concerned that his crew doesn't trust in his ability to lead them. Grim is despondent and seems to want to drink excessively. Meherlindi shows absolutely almost no emotion. And Google
Kind of
continues on to
expected.
contribute a bare minimum to justify his existence in life.
He's a navigator. What were you expecting out of the little pervert?
I don't know, I just find his existence redundant. Jock could have spent this entire time having not even mentioned his name, and I think we would have had about the same idea as to what is going on.
Complain about redundancies later. Read now.
Of course. They spend the chapter visiting the resupply depot and the star system of... Bandicoot. It says Bandicoot, I'm sure of it.
Whoa!
You are in need of prescription spectacles, sir. The star system is called Bandicoot.
It's practically the same. Anyway, during this time, Google seemed to dwell on the repulsive fiends from the Coas planet and how he felt aroused by her presence.
No.
Meanwhile, Jock muses on his attraction to Melindy in her gene stealer form because, of course, he does.
Knowledge is it.
yes.
Unfortunately.
While all this is happening, your boy Grimbo slips from their attention and goes on a drinking binge aboard the station, staying for way too long and almost getting left behind as the Tormentum Malorum was preparing to depart without him.
To think, we almost lost the only redeemable person in this record due to impatience.
As they leave the station, they resolve to find a way to alert the Emperor himself on Holy Terra about the plot. This irrational bag of bones must know of the tentacle monster.
If it were up to me, and I had the ability to take in visitors, who are screened to the point where we can see the DNA of their very pubes, I would. Granted, if I were to know what Jack had been up to prior to this point, I probably would just throw him out the window.
Well,
Yeah,
I
honestly,
wouldn't begrudge you that,
who
my
would
lord.
want him as a
I would
guest?
prefer to be the one to throw him out.
I would too, honestly.
As would I.
If I were strong enough, I would destroy it.
Good for you, boy.
Do not worry, boy. Someday in the future you may grow strong enough to defenestrate foul, depraved, secret inquisitors.
I believe in boy.
Oh,
Wow.
that is likely the first and only time I shall be warmed by boy's childlike wonder. Oh well, finally en route to Terra, Meherlindi reveals to Jock a horrifying truth. And for once, it isn't anything utterly depraved.
Okay, good. What is it?
When she was a young trainee for the Calidus Temple, she was given some sort of special thing. Again, not depraved, but it's not very well elaborated on. Regardless, said thing stops her from transforming into anything other than a gene stealer with her polymorphin, and that she is more or less consigned to this singular and specific talent.
That doesn't sound like a very good thing, to be honest.
Yeah, right?
But this does end chapter 16.
How does that have anything to do with anything?
2 more to go.
Inquisitor, chapter
Too
17.
We smash cut to Jacques inside of a crate on board a transport ship bound for Terra.
That's a bit of a jump there.
Why, yes, straight into the action. You see, Jacques and company have managed to board a black ship now, and stuff their bodies into boxes in order to be transported to Terra without worry. Jacques explains to his readers that he has convinced the not-secret Inquisitors aboard the black ship that there is some sort of kidnapping ring that has been stealing the young, psychically imbued children who are to be sacrificed to the Emperor as slaves for various uses.
He appears to imply something very foul here, though sincerely I hope it is simply me reading too much into this.
The not-secret Inquisitor aboard the black ship that is transporting the boxes is described as having alien fetus earrings. I just wanted to mention that. I am sorry, Master, but I must point out how completely asinine it is that this secret Inquisitor is attempting to secret himself onto Terra by lying to the supposedly highest security captains of a black ship and hiding in a box. He is sneaking onto Terra by hiding in a box.
He's attempting to sneak into one of the most heavily defended locations in the entire Imperium by hiding inside of a box. That'll would be funny, were it not so personally insulting.
Stop dwelling on it and move on, damn it.
If we time skip again to Jacques and his party disembarking from their crates, which appear to be bound for the kitchens in the lower sections of the palace itself. After they sneak out of the kitchen, there is a bizarrely detailed description of a custodes killing a rat. Oh shit, I think that might have been the shield captain. After this, they disguise themselves as agents of the Administrator using some grey robes. They are let through into a secure area simply by having these robes on. In this portion of the workings beneath the palace, there are signs of heavy machinery being used to power the throne, and there are... Alright, are you with me on this one? 3, 2, 1...
Sodium vapor flambeau behind high false clerestory windows of stained glass, painted patches of amber ichor, sap, and hemoglobin across the tessellated floor.
What does that mean?
For those of you survived this barrage, this large, needlessly descriptive sentence is being used to describe a window, the lamp behind the window, and the color of the floor.
Stylistic writing!
This goes beyond stylistic. This is not just flowery writing. The sentence is a winding hedge maze of an entity that is indicative of everything ridiculous about Ian Watson's writing style. It took the more illiterate of us 5 whole fuck mothering minutes to look up the definitions for each of these words in various dictionaries we had on hand. Please, if any of you are thinking of becoming scribes, do not stop and force your readers to drop your book and pick up a dictionary every other chapter just because you need to assert your talent for finding obscure words. And to any intellectual types out there beginning to write an email to us about how it is the sign of a learned man, who includes such advanced words and phrases in the text medium,
sign of learned
this
man.
record is
It
shallow
is quite the opposite,
and only
actually.
artificially deep. It is depraved, uncanny, and most damning of all, boring. This is not a text that is even remotely entertaining or informative due to the way that it is written, the way its story and personages are handled, and even its breakneck pacing. What little entertainment we have derived from this text is obtained purely through the sheer hilarity that comes with something so irrational, attempting to be presented as a serious story. This book is bad.
I think we can all agree on that.
Who knows? Maybe this is my next
Perfect
book.
edit. Perfect time for this one.
You good, my master?
I find my reality growing ever more frustrating, and sometimes I need to have this established by physical means.
Right, so that's your little rant over, Father. I do not entirely agree with your assessment. I think that while his stylistic writing can go quite far in places, there are some chapters in which it fits to illustrate how truly gruesome and depraved the Imperium can be. It's like
Of course you would enjoy those chapters.
Intricate picture with nothing but his words.
I agree with this comparison in only that treating this is like watching paint dry.
Look, we all have our problems with this account. From its
I have a lot of problems with it.
unbelievability to how this Watson man portrays everything with this bizarre.
Damn you, Watson!
tinge.
Why, if it isn't the bacon calling the salmon oily?
It's adorable when I do it.
What I think he's getting at is that we've all got problems with this thing. Whether or not Jack Draco indeed managed to infiltrate the Imperial Palace and came in here and spoke with you, Lord.
A fact I refute vehemently.
The way this book is written makes it very hard to get invested in his travels, as it is quite clear he was, indeed, trying to get us invested.
I mean, that's kind of the goal of any story. That they want you to be following the characters, get invested within the story, feel for them. But like, hot diggity dog, I feel like there's so many other things that this writer needs to kind of work on before they go and try to make a relatable character.
If you feel the need to enhance a tale about a rogue secret inquisitor seeking to save the very Imperium of Man from total destruction at the hands of a sinister cult, then you have not told the story properly.
Rogle is correct. The story stood every chance of enrapturing us with its contents, and yet here we sit, repulsed.
It's rather sad when you think about it.
Kind of, yeah. Should we continue on and prepare to end this book?
Just finish it.
Whatever.
Just let it be done.
This has gotten quite sad,
so we can move
and
on with our
I would prefer
lives.
to feel angry at the contents of this book.
Right away, my master. We left off at the overly descriptive lamp, window, and floor, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Further described in the room which Draco and company find themselves are the pumps and machines that filled the throne with life. The life in this situation seems to be a number of fluids containing Xeno's corpses and drugs, of all things. These pumps are manned by awful, lumpy children who look as though they have tuberculosis. Again, thank you for that, Mr. Watson.
This raises the question. Child, were you ever in the Underpalace?
No, my lord. My friend says he was for a while. I haven't seen her in a long time, though.
Oh, no.
I think she has the job of greasing the gears and blood bumps.
Oh my.
Moving on, I say that a lot this cast. There is an admittedly humorous depiction of petitioners trying to enter into the High Lord's hearing chamber. It is humorous as there are numerous merchants selling things to people on the line, from rocks dogs to all kinds of greasy finger foods and even portable latrines. Ha! Normal.
Before I was a Vox Surf, my overseer wanted me to sell snacks to people in the line. I'm glad I got this job instead. I get to be with the Holy Emperor instead of getting stomped flat by folks in line like many of my siblings.
Aww.
And that concludes chapter
Poor boy.
17. One more to go, folks.
Inquisitor, chapter 18. The dawn of the final chapter.
Now,
thank you.
In the most baffling of scenarios, Draco and his party leave the palace and depart for the slums of the city surrounding the palace. What is the name of that city again?
I don't know, actually.
I really am a privileged bastard, aren't I?
Well, they go to that city and apparently spend months moving back towards the palace. They do this because they think they are being followed by potential assailants. While roving through the city, they kill numerous people and murder more than a few families in order to assume their lifestyle and hide from these unseen assailants.
These poor people.
Bunch of fucking murder hobos.
Right?
Yeah, very.
I can't disagree.
They eventually wind up at the Eternity Gate, disguised as somewhat high-ranking officials. I find it incongruous that they murder a sister of battle, a tech priest, a small child, and similar just so they can steal their identities and sneak into the palace. As if making their party look even more suspect would somehow help them break through our security protocols.
Maybe it was Taco Day?
Good point.
Everybody had their point and their guard down
They get pretty
during
damn
Taco
far
Day.
into the literal Imperial Palace. I am ashamed.
I wouldn't be surprised. People seem to waltz into here all the damn time.
Before they're about to be made by the guards, time stops.
Father, apparently you stopped time so you could talk with him. You then conveyed his incorporeal form into this very throne room and spoke with him about already knowing all about the Hydra and that he would be your agent against evil.
I can say, without a shadow of a doubt, that this man has never in his life ever set foot in this throne room, corporeally or incorporeally.
You
Definitely a fat
cannot
fic
remember if
from
you had
Draco
ever
here.
spoken to him, Lord?
Sincerely. Neither this man nor his ramblings strikes even the smallest of bells within my memory. This unfortunately means that our entire story was all for naught. I hope.
As a custodian guard, this is quite gratifying, but as a reader of this book, it is thoroughly unsatisfying.
When the
And
based on real events
is
movie wasn't
also
actually based on real events.
End of our book.
Inquisitor. Epilogue.
I'm feeling the burn from reading this now.
I'm feeling a lot of
reading
things.
Any more of it? If you people desperately want to know
A lot
how
of it
it
not
all
good.
ends, the book ends with an old man shitting himself to death. Is anyone surprised? No.
Ah, so it does, ending with a truly potent allegory to the human condition.
Inquisitor. Over. I
Thank goodness.
suppose.
Please.
Well, and truly.
Alright. So, since this took a year to get through and my entire body has been lit on fire by Ian Watson, I wish to stop here for now. There will be no questions this time around because I know the vicious blob beasts listening to this will only make it worse.
Thank you for this mercy, my lord.
Thank you.
And
Thank
for
you,
inviting me
Man,
on
Emperor,
to this
mankind.
podcast, I would also like to say, what did I do to deserve this?
Poor
Is this my way
Decius,
of
man.
repenting for my previous wrongdoings? Please, I beg of you, do not exact this intense a punishment on me again, for I fear my old body will not be able to take it. I
I'm
must
not
go
even
now
old, and I
and
still
drink
can't
from
take
the
it.
fountain of aspirin and sleep, long and deep. I
Same,
wish you
bro.
all good recovery.
You're all a bunch of whiners.
Magnus, do you consume the taco on the Friday or the Tuesday?
Taco Tuesday is on Friday.
Turn the gas off right now.
Hours of coerced prevail!
Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.